All right, let's get right into it. Today we are tackling a massive topic for modern Indian history, the Second Anglo-Maratha War. We're going to zero in on the key dates, the major players, and the critical turning points you absolutely need to know for your UPSC preparation.
So here's the central puzzle, right? The First Anglo-Maratha War wrapped up with the Treaty of Bassein, and things were peaceful for about 20 years. So what happened? What went so wrong that these two major powers were at each other's throats again by 1803?
To figure that out, we actually need to look inside the Maratha Confederacy itself. The real story here, the spark for this Second War, wasn't British aggression, at least not at first. It was a deep, deep internal crisis brewing within the Maratha leadership. You see, the end of the 18th century was just a disastrous time for the Marathas. It really kicks off in 1795 with the tragic suicide of the young Peshwa, creating a huge leadership vacuum. He's eventually replaced by Baji Rao II, who, to put it mildly, was not a skilled leader. But the killer blow? That came in 1800 with the death of Nana Fadnavis. This guy was the political genius, the glue that held all the powerful and often rival Maratha chiefs together. So with Nana Fadnavis gone, the central authority of the Peshwa just crumbled. This power vacuum was a green light for all the powerful Maratha chiefs, who immediately started fighting each other for control and supremacy. The unity was gone.
And this internal conflict pretty much boiled down to a massive rivalry between two main players, Yashwantrao Holkar of Indore and Rao Scindia of Gwalior. Now the Peshwa Baji Rao II made a really bad call here. He threw his support behind Scindia. This just fueled the fire and put him on a direct collision course with Holkar.
And this is the moment that lit the fuse. In a terrible, terrible move, the Peshwa captured Holkar's brother, Vithoji, and had him publicly executed in the most brutal way you can imagine. This wasn't just politics. This was a massive personal insult. It absolutely enraged Yashwantrao Holkar, who now had one thing on his mind: revenge. And he got his revenge, and fast. In October 1802, Holkar marched his army on Pune. At the Battle of Hadasar, he completely annihilated the combined forces of Scindia and the Peshwa. Baji Rao II, absolutely terrified, fled his own capital and ran, you guessed it, straight to the British.
For the British, this was the golden opportunity they'd been patiently waiting for. You have a defeated, desperate Peshwa literally begging for their help. This desperation led to the single most important document of this entire conflict, the Treaty of Bassein, signed in 1802.
Let's be clear, the Treaty of Bassein was basically the end of Maratha independence. Baji Rao II agreed to have a permanent British army stationed in his territory. He gave up the super valuable city of Surat. He renounced his right to collect chauth, that's the traditional tax the Marathas took for protection, and, crucially, he handed over control of all foreign policy to the East India Company. It was a total surrender of sovereignty. So what did he get in return for all this? Well, the British gave him 6,000 troops to put him back on his throne. But this protection was anything but free. The Peshwa had to pay for the entire army's upkeep himself, which cost about 26 lakh rupees a year. And to pay for it, he had to give up even more of his land.
And right here, you see the British master plan in action. The Treaty of Bassein is a textbook example of a subsidiary alliance. This was the playbook the British used all over India. It let them control Indian rulers and their states without the cost and hassle of a direct conquest. By signing it, the head of the Marathas had just become a British puppet.
Now, you can imagine how the other Maratha chiefs, people like Scindia and Bhonsle, reacted to this. They were absolutely furious. They saw the treaty for exactly what it was, a national humiliation, the end of everything they stood for. They refused to accept it, and in 1803, all-out war with the British officially began. But here's the problem for the Marathas. They weren't a united force anymore, and the British were masters of exploiting this kind of division. They used their classic divide-and-conquer strategy. They didn't fight the Marathas as one big army. They isolated each chief and defeated them one by one. Scindia and Bhonsle fell in 1803, forced to sign brutal treaties that stripped them of huge, valuable territories. Holkar fought on bravely, but he too was eventually cornered and forced to sign a treaty in 1805.
So, after all the battles, all the treaties, all the infighting, what was the final result? Well, this war marked the beginning of the end for what had been, for a long time, the most dominant power in all of India.
Here's the key takeaway. The Second Anglo-Maratha War wasn't just a military loss, it was the complete disintegration of the Maratha Confederacy. It just fell apart. With their main rivals now broken and powerless, the British were, without any doubt, the supreme power in India.
So, as you wrap up your revision on this topic, here's the big question to think about. Yes, the British Army was disciplined and their strategy was brilliant. But was their victory really about their own strength? Or was it made possible because the Marathas' own internal rivalries and disastrous decisions basically tore their empire apart from the inside? Answering that is crucial to truly understanding this massive turning point in Indian history.